Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about interest groups. Okay, this goes along with our discussion of the media and propaganda and influence on our government officials. Okay, our desired result is to be able to identify 3 ways groups and organizations can influence the actions of the government. Okay, so for a second, I just want you to think, what are you interested in? What are the things that you care about? Right? People take an interest in a topic or an issue if it is something that could potentially affect them, or if it's just something that they feel passionate about. So I want you to think about that for a second as we talk about what these interest groups do. Okay? So what is an interest group? One of the ways that people can have their voices heard is to find others with those same concerns, right? If you care about school lunches, you can find other people and you have a particular opinion on it. You can find other people who share those opinions, okay? So what interest groups do is they gather people and resources to support the public policies that help their members, that matter to them, right? They work to persuade policymakers, like senators and representatives, to support government actions that help their members and oppose actions that hurt them. Okay? Another thing that they do is they also work to influence public opinion by educating the population about their point of view. They find ways to tell us what they think. And in this way, this is how these interest groups advocate or promote the needs and wants of their group. And there are hundreds of interest groups in the United States working on many different types of issues, okay? But when we talk about them, they are different from political parties, okay? They do not nominate candidates. They do not focus on winning elections. They concern themselves very specifically with a broad range of issues. We will talk about in a little while, they will work to get certain candidates elected, but they will not nominate their own, okay? So when we look at the types of interest groups, they can be divided into 5 different categories generally. Public interest groups. These are groups that focus on topics that affect the general public, like education, the environment, and politics. Okay? There are interest groups that recognize economic interests, and they promote the economic interests of their members in business, labor, and trade organizations. Professional groups. These groups advocate for people in a particular profession, such as doctors, lawyers, and teachers. The 4th kind are ideological groups. These groups promote policies that are based on a set of core political or religious beliefs. Okay? And the last one are single issue groups. These groups tend to focus on a narrow topic, such as immigration or drunk driving. Okay? They will focus on something very specific and not more of a general issues. So how do they do this? There are several strategies that interest groups use for influencing the government. If this is something that concerns people, as we're having this conversation, there are people who are afraid that interest groups have too much influence over the government beyond maybe what they should, okay? But the first strategy that they use is lobbying the government. They will hire lobbyists to meet with members of the government and discuss the group's issues and concerns. Lobbyists say that their job is to provide information to decision makers. The information lobbyists provide has been carefully chosen to persuade the audience to take one side of an issue. Lawmakers have to be aware of the bias in the lobbyist's message and consider both sides before they make any decision. So again, this idea of bias comes back in. They're selling their opinion on an issue. So officials especially have to be careful about what they believe and how they take that, okay? A second strategy that interest groups use is endorsing candidates. So during elections, you may see interest groups that endorse or officially support a particular candidate. Groups choose a candidate to support based on what the candidate has done in the past and where the candidate stands on issues that are important to the group. Once the candidate is in office, he or she may introduce new bills, support existing laws, or use influence on important committees. In return, the interest group encourages its members to vote for that person in the next election. In addition, the interest group may donate money to the candidate's election campaign. Okay, so this is how they directly influence people who are running for office. The third strategy that interest groups use is raising money. Interest groups raise money to support their efforts to influence the government. Some people worry that interest groups can buy candidates by contributing lots of money to the candidate's election campaign. Once in office, such a candidate might be more concerned about pleasing the interest group than representing the voters. The government addresses this concern with strict rules about how interest groups may collect and donate money to political campaigns. Those that do must form a political action committee or a PAC. So if you're ever watching the news and you see that word PAC there, it is an interest group that has a financial stake in an election. But these political action committees have to follow strict government rules about giving money to political candidates. And this is an issue that is still debated. People don't always agree about the rules that these interest groups should have to follow. Some people think that they should be limited in how much money they can give to influence the candidate. People worry that these interest groups have more influence than the public at large, just you and me contacting a candidate or asking questions. But this is definitely an issue that people are concerned about. So the strategies that we use are informing the public, donating money to political campaigns, and endorsing candidates. Okay, this is the way that these political action committees and these interest groups sell their viewpoints to government leaders and political candidates. And so this last slide kind of shows this progression, right? You have regular people or employees or companies and industries, social organizations, they all get into these interest groups. These special interest groups then hire lobbyists or form political action committees to communicate and to directly influence the politicians on Capitol Hill in Washington. So while interest groups definitely support a lot of, provide a lot of support to people who maybe wouldn't get it, to issues that maybe wouldn't see as much attention if these special interest groups didn't exist, it is a controversial topic as to how much influence they have and how much influence they should have, okay? All right, we will talk more about this in live class, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks.